We are not there to implement the NDR. We never signed up to the NDR. We never signed on a dotted line in the statement of intent that said the policies of this government will be the NDR. No, the President, who got elected with votes from my party in the National Assembly, and who would not have got elected had the Democratic Alliance not made our votes available to him. This situation, this bill will not stand, and we will not stand to watch. Thank you very much, and thank you for the question, Paul. Let me be very clear, this isn't an ultimatum. It is a call, a mature call, as a partner in the Government of National Unity for a reset in the relations, where we are respected and treated as partners in this Government of National Unity, and not as spectators. And it doesn't matter whether it's foreign policy, it doesn't matter whether it's government policy, and it shouldn't matter if it's regulations. This administration is not a continuation of the Sixth administration. The Sixth administration was an administration led by an ANC majority government. This administration is now part of a Government of National Unity. And therefore, to expect us, as a new administration, to come in, to simply slipstream into everything that the Sixth administration did, is fanciful and is simply not based in the realities of how government changes work. What is the whole point of an election where citizens vote to change their government, and that new government is then expected just to carry on implementing the policies of the previous government? The people of South Africa in this last election chose change, and they behoved us as political parties to work constructively together in partnership to be able to do right by them and do right by South Africa. And it is that basis that we walked in. This isn't an ultimatum. Partners don't give each other ultimatums. But this is a very clear call for a mature reset in the relationships within the Government of National Unity, so that all of us can feel part of the decision making and feel heard. And I want to be clear, I don't have 50% plus one in the coalition. And I've made it very clear to my own party that we will not get everything we want. And we have been prepared to compromise on many instances already within the GNU, and we're prepared to compromise going forward. But compromise cannot be borne by one party or one set of parties alone. The burden of compromise must rest with all parties in a coalition. And so there is no natural deadline and no natural ultimatum. However, I would say this: a medium-term development plan needs to be passed. A budget needs to be passed a little bit later this year. And if the Democratic Alliance is not satisfied that we have been included and our voice has been heard, those will be the backstops that I imagine will exist for any government, whether it's a coalition government in Germany, whether it's a coalition government in India, whether it's a coalition government anywhere in the world, that where parties cannot find the compromise that's needed, that those governments then are unable to pass budgets and unable to pass medium-term development plans. Sinead, thanks very much for your question. Obviously, we want in the medium-term development plan to have our voice heard, and that is why we have been participating. It's why we've sent comprehensive inputs at every single stage of the process about areas where we think we can create jobs and grow the economy. Now, let me be clear. The clearinghouse is no substitute for the very important Section 19 that was included in the original statement of intent. The clearinghouse has got no clear terms of reference that have been adopted yet, and so it is a very strange way of trying to deal with a particular problem. We're happy to talk in whatever forums, but we are now invoking Section 19, which was specifically agreed to by all parties who signed the statement of intent. Let me be clear, nobody was forced to sign the statement of intent. Every party, from the ANC to the DA to every one of the other 8 parties, signed that statement of intent. And in signing that, they bound themselves to Section 19 as a dispute resolution mechanism within the GNU. It's very clear now that despite the fact that the DA within government through its minister, raised concerns, not only raised concerns, provided a very clear alternative pathway where we could end up with an expropriation bill that passed constitutional muster and which protected property rights and gave true effect to Section 25 of the Constitution and outlined what that process can be. Like the letter I sent on the NHI, it simply was brushed away. And that is not how partners treat each other. It's not, and no matter how many clearinghouses you have, that's not how you run a government. Leanne, as I said, I'm calling for a reset in the relations. I'm not saying that we're about to walk out the door, but I'm making an earnest, heartfelt, and conscientious appeal to the President, who got elected with votes from my party in the National Assembly, and who would not have got elected had the Democratic Alliance not made our votes available to him, to please listen to us, to take us into his confidence, and to allow us to play our role as full partners in this. We are not there to implement the NDR. We never signed up to the NDR. We never signed on a dotted line in the statement of intent that said the policies of this government will be the NDR. No, not at all. What the statement of intent said, that we would work to have evidence-based decision-making. It's very clear there. Nothing about the NHI is evidence-based. It exists today without even an understanding about what the budget implications of it are. So you're about to rush off and destroy an entire private medical sector in South Africa, to potentially destroy the entire healthcare ecosystem in South Africa, including the public healthcare ecosystem, when doctors start to leave in large droves, and we end up with great medical shortages, with very little evidence to show that it has worked. That's what we signed up for. Evidence-based policy making, evidence-based decision making. And that is clear as black and white in the statement of intent, and that is how we intend to proceed if this government of national unity is to be a true government of national unity and not just simply an extension of the Sixth administration with some different faces sitting around the table. We'll support any process that leads to the constitutional determination of this bill. However, I don't think that we need to go through those processes. I think we can approach the Constitutional Court through the legal processes there in order to that, but we will work together with all parties. And I think it's instructive in the question that you ask that yet another party outside of the DA and the IFP are unhappy about the way this has unfolded. And had we been able to have the opportunity to sit around as leaders of these political parties and have a conversation about this, instead of having the conversation with you today, I think it would have been a much healthier way to resolve the matter. And I think we could have found a way forward. But what we are seeing is a government that is just continuing to carry on as if nothing changed in the election of last year. And that cannot be right. That now certainly three of your larger coalition partners are aggrieved that they now have to seek other mechanisms to deal with it outside of a mature adult conversation between the leaders of the party shows that there's clearly something wrong. In terms of the papers, please forgive me, I've landed 2 hours ago from Davos. Helen Ziller, as you know, is the chairperson of the Federal Executive, handles legal matters, and there are several briefings, I'm sure, that, as you're aware of, that I'm awaiting since my landing here. And obviously once that process is clearly defined, we'll be able to release that to the media. But I can just tell you this, from our side, this situation, this bill will not stand. And we will not stand to watch this type of legislation being passed, not on our watch and not while we are part of government. And whatever mechanisms we have, both legal and political, to resolve this situation, we will do so.